Hi, I'm John Quast, and today in this ministry update video, I wanted to share a glimpse of our lives and talk about how it relates to discipleship. Now, since February of last year, our family has been living full-time in an indigenous tribal community here in Paraguay, South America. And we are living here because we have the goal of making disciples among this people group. Now, that Matthew 28 passage, make disciples of all nations, that doesn't just apply to missionaries, of course. It applies to all believers. We are all to be making disciples wherever it is in the world that God has positioned us. Now, we could talk about a lot of different facets of discipleship, but one principle of discipleship that I'd like to share is that discipleship implies proximity and relationship. Now, in the Word, to see this principle, we have the example of our Lord Jesus Christ. For proximity, we see that he left his rightful place at the right hand of the Father and came down to earth and was even called Emmanuel, God with us. And so we see that proximity. But also with relationship, we see that he was among the commoners. He was walking around the countryside with his disciples, often sacrificing sleep, often sacrificing shelter, often sacrificing food, just so that he could spend time with his disciples. And so he's building that relationship. Now, of course, 11 of Christ's disciples would go on to build up the church. And so we see that Christ's method of discipleship was extremely effective. And one of the principles that I see is the proximity and the relationship. Therein lies the challenge in our personal discipleship context. For just to be close and have a relationship with these people, it requires a great deal of intentionality. Since the Nivaclé live 100 miles from the grocery store, we have to take all of our supplies with us. We buy for a month at a time so that we don't have to go in and out of the village very often. We take everything out with us, except for chicken eggs, of course. We got our own laying hens now. The reason that we have laying hens is because, well, I dare you to try to take a month's worth of eggs down roads like this. Buying a month of supplies is hard, and we weren't very good at it at first, but as the years gone on, we've gotten better and better. Now we have it down to a science. Everything's got to be wrapped up nice and tight, because we fly down dusty roads like this. We truly live in the middle of nowhere, home to tapirs, jaguars, giant anteaters, wild peccary, hundreds of species of birds. If you live in this part of the world, you're either a tribal person or a cattle rancher. There are dozens of cattle ranches in this part of the world, which supplies the bulk of Paraguay's economy. The sparse population in this region can be attributed not only to how distant it is from society, but also the temperatures. Triple-digit temperatures are a common thing, sometimes lasting for weeks without a drop of rain. There's no school way out here, so Jen spends a lot of her time homeschooling the kids. There's also no school where you can go and learn the Nivaclé language, so for that I have to spend a lot of time analyzing what this language even does. So like I said, if we're going to disciple by being in proximity and having relationships, we've got to have a lot of intentionality. We spend time as a family going to their homes, listening to what they have to say, learning their language, seeing what's going on, things that look different to us, things that seem strange to us. Our kids play with their kids. We spend time with the adults. And all in all, we're doing everything we can to position ourselves to learn their language, build relationships, be in proximity so that we can disciple them down the road. So thanks for watching. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that it was a good glimpse into our lives and what we're doing here in Paraguay. We just want to thank you guys for your continued support of our ministry that allows us to live here and work as we seek to make disciples. And just to close, I would just challenge each and every one of you to consider in what ways can I use the principle of proximity and relationship in my own discipleship context.